So, what are the 5 things that you need to do with your computer and home network today? Well, I'm glad you asked that. Hi, I'm Woody Huffines. I own the Nerds to Go in McKinney, Frisco, Texas, and this is Tech for the Untechnical. It's the end of July, pretty much, and we're about to start school again, get back into the swing of things, get back off of vacation. As you can tell, I'm all suntan, just had a vacation. We'll talk about that in a minute. So, what are the things that you need to do to get you and your family ready for the school year and for work and for people to quit being on vacation and start getting in the direction of back into the swing of things? Now, before we get started, if you find these videos helpful, hit the subscribe button, mash the notification bell so when I have one of these thoughts, it'll notify you that it's happening. Share it with your friends, make a comment, and I'd appreciate it. So, what are the 5 things that you need to do to get your computer set up for the school year or for into vacation or into summer? Well, number 1 is always back up your data. Back up your data, back up your data. There's a video here on data backups. Remember, there's only 2 kinds of hard drives, the ones that have failed and the ones that are going to. And the most important thing that we have on our computers is our data. Here's an example. A couple of weeks ago, we went on vacation and I got to spend some time with my granddaughter. Here's a picture of the cute little Hummer. How much do you think that picture is worth to me, given that I only see her twice or 3 times a year because we live far away? That's a very important picture to me. So do I have it backed up? You bet your sweet bippy I got it backed up. I've got it in my Lightroom catalog. I've got it in a local hard drive. I've got it in the cloud. I've got it on my Google Drive, and I've got it in my Google Photos. So if my computer goes away or the hard drive that's connected to my computer goes away, I still have it in the cloud. Backups are very important. Think about the things on your computer that you couldn't live without or would not want to live without. So we've got a client right now that was using a hard drive, external hard drive, to back up his data. The external hard drive, which was his backup, went away. And there's stuff on it that he has to have. And it's going to cost him about $1,700 to get into a clean room environment and clean that up. Well, you can buy lots of hard drives for $1,700. So first and foremost, back up your data. Make sure you have good backups. Think of 3-2-1, 3 backups, 2 different media, 1 off-site. For example, the reason that I've got a hard drive next to my computer and I've got a cloud backup is if the house burns down, the one next to the computer is not going to do me any good. I have to have something that's off-site for me to do the recovery. So think about the data that's important to you, and get it backed up before you do anything else. And then after you get it backed up, get a good backup routine. And you can talk to Nerds to Go, and we can help you put a backup solution in place that's not that expensive, that'll make sure that that just happens. And when you think about how expensive it is, think about how if you really needed your tax return for an audit from last year and it's going to cost you $1,700 to get it back, that maybe $30 a month wouldn't be so bad. And we can find a solution that's probably going to be less expensive than that. So, number 1, what do I do with my computer? Back up your important data. Second thing you need to do before the school year starts, before we get out of vacation and summertime mode, back into production, doing things mode, is review your hardware. Now, we buy computers. We all the time have people come in and they say, and I ask, how old's the computer? And they say, well, yeah, 3 or 4 years. Yeah, 7 or 8. You can do an about on a Windows machine. If you type about, you can find about your computer. And one of the things it'll tell you, at least, was when the operating system was installed, which is a pretty good approximation for how old your computer is. Here's the thing. If your computer's more than 3 years old, it's probably time to get it upgraded. Now, that's not necessarily the case. If you've got a capable processor with a little bit of RAM and to put an SSD in instead of a hard drive, there's some things that you can do to kind of refresh that technology. But before you do a whole lot of other stuff to the computer and do a lot of stuff to your infrastructure, it might be time to look at a new computer. And if you've got some questions about it, we can help you. But if you do that about your computer, on a Windows machine especially, and you look at the processor, if the processor isn't an i3, i5, i7, or i9, if it's an Athlon or a Pentium Intel processor, it's really time to upgrade your computer. That there's probably a lot of time that you're spending looking at the computer sit and spin that you don't have to. When we put SSDs in computers, it makes a huge difference, but sometimes there's just not enough processor that it's worth doing something else with the computer. And We all heard the analogy about how you boil a frog. You know, you put it in cold water and turn the water up. If you just throw the frog in hot water, it'll hop out. But if you put a frog in cold water, you can boil the frog, which turns out not to be true. But we've all heard that, so I still use the analogy. What happens over time is your computer gets a little slower and a little slower and a little slower, and you really don't notice it because it's an incremental decline. If you bought your computer on day 1 and on day 5 it was the way it is now, you'd probably be thinking, I need a new computer. But you've kind of gotten used to how slow it is. So look at the hardware. How much RAM do you have? How fast is your processor? It might be time to upgrade because as computers get better and better, the software people put more and more software stuff on it that slows it down. It may be time for you to look at getting a new computer. Now, again, Nerds to Go can help you make that determination and give you some ideas about how to go about it. The second thing I'd tell you when I talk about reviewing your hardware is maybe you have hardware you don't need. One of the things that we find a lot, especially in small businesses, is that they still have a server. And 5 years ago, 7 years ago, when they built their IT infrastructure, they had a server that was running their QuickBooks or running their application that they run their business on. But since then, they've gone to a cloud-based solution or software as a service. And now you've got a server. Well, maybe you don't need a server anymore. Servers are expensive. They're expensive to replace. They're expensive to maintain. They give you a security vulnerability that you don't need, and maybe you don't need a server. So in that hardware review, part of the hardware review is maybe you don't need the stuff that you got, and you can trim down, which makes it easier to back up, easier to maintain, easier to update, and more efficient for your small business. So when we talk about what do you need to do about hardware, there's some cases where you need to upgrade and some cases where you need to downgrade or eliminate. And we'll talk about the last piece of hardware update when I talk about network at the end. But one of the things that you need to understand is what all you've got connected to your network, which is part of a network review as well as a hardware review. Third thing you need to do is update your software. Update your operating system, update your browser, update any software that you use. We're all the time finding security vulnerabilities, and most of the security vulnerabilities that get accessed are ones that aren't patched, where somebody has had a browser and they haven't updated the browser, they haven't updated their hardware, they haven't updated their software, and there's a computer vulnerability out there that's a known vulnerability that the bad guys know about, that there's a patch available for that hasn't been applied. It's kind of like leaving your front door unlocked. If you knew that the lock on your front door was inoperable, you'd do something to replace that lock. Well, the same thing's true of your operating system and some of your software. There might be something that locks the computer down to keep bad guys out of it that's broken or inoperable. You need to do an update to make sure that that update takes care of those security patches that need to go. Now, Windows machines are pretty good about automatically updating, but it's a good idea to go look and make sure that your updates are there. Go to the settings menu, go to updates, and see if there are any updates available and run those updates. And that's the update on the software. You can also need to update your hardware, a BIOS update or driver update, or there's a number of things. Dell computers, for example, have something that goes out and phones home and makes sure that you've got everything up to date in your drivers, because if you have a vulnerable driver, that can lead you into a problem from a security standpoint as well. So back up your data, review your hardware. Number 3, update your software. Number 4, get a paid antivirus. Remember, we've talked about this before. I'll try to find a video about it. On the internet, if you have a free resource, that means you are the product. If you're using Facebook or Google or Yahoo or whatever, they're scraping data to find out about you. And if they're scraping data to find out about you, then that's the way you're paying for the computer. A friend of mine the other day said that they started a little test with their Amazon Alexas, and they would start talking about diapers only in their kitchen where their Amazon Alexa was. And they just talked about diapers. Now, they're my age. They don't have any diaper wearing kids, and their grandkids are out of diapers, and so why would they ever need diapers? And why would they ever talk about diapers? Just a test. We'll do it in front of the Amazon Alexa. Well, the next thing you know, they're getting diaper ads in their Facebook feed and their pop-up ads in Google. I don't know if it's true that that's the case, but his test shows that, yeah, that free resource means that somebody's stealing your data and they're using that data to market to you. So if you're going to use an antivirus, and you should, find a paid version of the antivirus. Now, having said that, Nerds to Go recommends Bitdefender. We can put Bitdefender on a machine, and it's, I don't know, probably $45 a year. It's great enterprise level antivirus. It's a really good thing. The free versions, whether it's McAfee or Avast and they're good antiviruses. Don't get me wrong; they do a pretty good job from an antivirus perspective. But they're collecting data on you, and they say that they're not. But they are, because somebody has to pay for that development of the software. Somebody has to pay for that software to be updated. And the way that they pay for that is they take data from your browsing history and what kind of software is on your computer, and they sell that information to companies that want to advertise to you. So I recommend a paid antivirus. We use Bitdefender, but pay for the antivirus. Don't take a free one. You're probably going to get a better antivirus solution, and it's going to reduce the amount of spying that people are doing on you. So the last piece of that paid antivirus is make sure your antivirus is updated. Make sure that the automatic updates are on, so that as new vulnerabilities are found, that antivirus will be updated. We've got a couple of options for antivirus that Nerds2Go uses. Acronis is one. Acronis is a web-based antivirus, and Bitdefender is an on-computer antivirus. They're both great choices. If you have questions about what an effective antivirus is, call Nerds2Go McKinney or call another Nerds2Go near you and find out what the best antivirus is and have them help you get a good antivirus solution so that you're not as vulnerable to the ransomware and the stealing and all the bad. We've got a bunch of videos about that. The bad things can happen to your computer. Antivirus helps that. Get a good paid antivirus. The last thing you need to do as you go forward, especially if you're working remotely or you've got kids that are doing schoolwork, is look at your network. Scan your network. See what's on your network. Here's my network scan from this morning. I've got 30 devices on my network. 30. And if I go through and look at them, I can see that I've got some Ring cameras, and I got a Ring doorbell, and I've got a pool controller and a thing on the sprinkler system, and smart televisions and phones, and, well, 30 devices. One of the things you need to do on a regular basis, if you can, is go scan your network and see what's connected to your network. We had a business recently that had a really slow internet, and we went and did a network scan for them and found out that the office next door had 15 devices on their network, and, well, no wonder your network's slow. You're sharing it with another office. So get that network scan done and look to see what's connected. And if you don't recognize a device, you might want to get rid of it. Remember, we were talking earlier about reviewing your hardware. Any piece of hardware that's connected to your network is a security vulnerability. So if you have one that you're not using, that you don't need, or you don't know what it is, it's probably a good idea to get it off your network. Okay, let's review. What do you need to do right now at the end of the summer to get ready for the school year and everything else that's going to be going on this fall? Number one, back up your data. Number two, review your hardware. Maybe you need new hardware. Maybe you need to get rid of some of the hardware you got. Number three, update your software, update your operating system, update all your software. Number four, get a paid antivirus to help protect you from bad things happening to your computer. Number five, look at your network, make sure that you understand everything that's on your network and what the security vulnerabilities are, and update those devices. If you need help with that, give us a call. I'm Woody Huffines. I own the Nerds2Go in McKinney and Frisco, Texas. This is Tech for the Untechnical. Again, if you find this stuff helpful, hit the subscribe button, notify your friends, share it with your network, leave us a comment, hit the notification bell, and we'll talk to you again soon.